Hello out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome yet again. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi. Yes, I'm here in front of this peculiar brick wall. I was having a little bit of difficulties with my software this morning to broadcast. So we're going another method, but hello out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Daniel here at AutoCrit. AutoCrit is the home for authors. We have our fully functional writer's desk. We have our online community. We have our academy page. And of course, we're home to fun challenges such as the one that I'm going to talk about today, which is the story structure challenge. So we had a lot of you enter. We had over 100 entries this time around. So thank you, thank you, thank you for participating with that. I'm not going to take too long because I'm going to go ahead and go on in and start reading them. And I was hoping to be able to share it on my screen, but I am not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to see what I can about trying to fix that. But in the meantime, well, you can follow along with me and just listen and enjoy hearing these spoken aloud as well. Yeah, beat jokes at the stand-up. It does look like I'm at a comedy house, doesn't it? Well, life's a little bit of a comedy sometimes. But this was very difficult, I have to say. Judging this challenge was a challenge in of itself. We got a lot of really great entries. Uh, and at the end of me reading all of them, I have 10 to read today. We will do a live vote, and we will determine who is the grand winner of the short story challenge. Now, the short story challenge ultimately, the winner is going to get a chance to either join us for the mystery course that we're about to launch. So you'll get a free admission to that, or you can get free admission to either of the workshops that we're doing in July. We have 2 workshops coming in July. We're going to be doing a deep point of view workshop where we talk about how to write effectively, get your audiences immersed in a specific viewpoint. And then we're also going to be discussing setting, how to make a compelling setting. Now, before I get into that, we did have a couple of prizes that we just wanted to give away simply for being part of the short story challenge. And the first one I wanted to give away was a story doctor appointment. So through the magic of the Google random number generator, let's see, is number 567. Of course, you don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I have to find it. Number 567. Looks like we have Benjamin Jones. Benjamin Jones. Benjamin Jones, you are the lucky winner of a story doctor appointment. So you will get a email about that. And yep, and then you can schedule that at your own convenience. All right, and then I have another giveaway I'm going to do. This one actually is for a lifetime membership to AutoCrit. So that's very exciting. All right, so let's see here. And the winner of that, hold on here. Let me make sure this is correct. Is looks like, sorry. Where's the name? Looking at my little thing here. Here we go. It looks like it is Harriet Barrett. Harriet Barrett, you are a winner of Lifetime. So I'll go ahead and I will get them to adjust that for you. Next time you log in, it should reflect that. And so congratulations to you. Thank you so much. I need new glasses. That's what it is. I'm like looking at it. It's because there's a lot on that spreadsheet. I just wanted to make sure I was reading the right name. All right. So I am going to go ahead and start reading these stories. And again, I don't think I'm going to be able to display it on the screen, so you'll just have to follow along with me. And I apologize for that. But the first one is Karma. And the story premise is Jimmy Flynn has never been lucky until his life takes a wild turn when he's chosen to beta test a new mobile app called Karma, which promises to improve his luck. And it does, with a catch. As Jimmy juggles his newfound prosperity, his friends embark on an adventure to uncover the app's eccentric AI creator in a tug of war to regain control of the runaway technology. That's a really cool premise. And the scene we're going to read is when the character is debating about whether or not to actually get involved in this app. He's like asked to be a beta tester and he's debating it. All right, here we go. The problem with living a life riddled with bad luck is when on those rare occasions something good pokes its head out of fortune's gopher hole, it's hard to believe that you're not being punked, but there it was. Congratulations, blinking through the cobweb of cracks on his iPhone screen, courtesy of its maiden flight on the concrete runway outside the AT&T store. Jimmy couldn't remember the last time Lady Luck had taken a few minutes off from kicking him in the crotch. This was different. The pulsing sensation he felt now was less of an ache and more of a rock and roll rip. Yet, the Pavlovian pessimist in him stood ready for the wedgie of destiny to tighten its grip. The terms of the condition of the Karma app were shockingly simple. The first called for an I've won the lottery selfie within 15 minutes of the reward. As the lone wolf chosen as the beta tester, beating out 2 billion hopefuls, Jimmy was also required to host it on his phone for a minimum of 30 uninterrupted days. If after that he attempted to delete it with a karma balance in the red zone, he'd face dire consequences, whatever that meant. However, now, his beaten up mugshot was his pressing concern. Despite Lily's best efforts with an industrial dose of base makeup and swabbing his blood-stained shirt for Charlie's oversized linen curtain, Jimmy looked like he'd been taken around with Mike Tyson. His eyes were sporting the latest in bruised couture, his nose angled slightly to the left, his hair was a trash magnet tribute to split ends, and he sported a cut lip that screamed, "I've been clobbered." That buffering blur of Jimmy's selfie came into crystal clarity along with a red activate button beneath. What the hell? Jimmy's eyes squinted at his screen like a man in need of new prescription glasses. Charlie and Emily peered over Jimmy's shoulder. Sarah, who had been outvoted on the wisdom of downloading an app designed to crawl through Jimmy's digital underwear drawer, said, "Did I ever do the makeup?" Charlie shook his head. "It looked like Brad freaking Pitt." It was true. Jimmy had never seen himself look better. Honestly, he'd never even imagined he could look this good. Lily and Sarah jockeyed for position. "That's impossible," said Sarah. "No amount of makeup could have fixed that disaster. Sorry, but you look like crap. Jimmy and his hair, it's Kardashian worthy," said Jimmy. "They must have used some sort of generative AI on your face," said Emily. "Is that a bad thing?" said Jimmy, struggling to stay grounded amidst his sudden upgrade to Hollywood A-list. "It might be. The app might use AI to pull strings behind the scenes." Charlie shrugged the wet blanket-isms off and said, "The app's mission is to clean up his luck, not launch nukes." "Don't hit that button, Jimmy. You'd be rolling out the red carpet for a corporate vampire," said Sarah. "You could delete it after 30 days, said Charlie. "Unless his karma balance is negative. Dire consequences, remember? I think you should chuck it." "What do you think?" said Jimmy. Lily, sensing the evening had ended, laid each of their checks on the table. "I never believed in luck. But if you do, you won. 1 out of 2 billion. I don't think you need to push it for 30 days. It might push back." Emily stared at the selfie. The transformation was wild. No blemishes, every hair perfectly clipped and in place, shirt now a perfect, crisply pressed fit. Even his stiff smile was now a charming, radiant beam, showcasing a set of teeth worthy of impressing 9 out of 10 dentists. "I don't know. I'd kill to dig into that code." "Doesn't my opinion matter?" "No one cares," Charlie said Sarah. What do you think, Jimmy? Winning against a world of competitors might not be like hitting the jackpot. But what if they were the lucky ones dodging a bullet while his jinx streak remained intact? Trying to act a bystander for 30 days was a no-go. He knew the siren's call of curiosity would be impossible to resist. And what the hell was a negative karma bounce? Considering the day he'd had, a day not unlike most, in the end, he figured, why not just tap the activation button? After all, how much worse could things get? All right. So that was Karma. The next story is called Rising. And let me give you the premise of this one. In a world where vaccine awakens superhuman abilities in children, gifted soldier Zach and his team must navigate dangerous landscapes in their attempt to find safety while hunted by the government agency GOHD, who seek to capture and experiment on them in their fight for global domination. All right. Yes. In a world. That's a good premise. All right. So this scene is after the Zach and his team discover evidence of the true intentions of this organization and their plans to capture and experiment on everybody. And they are trying to determine what it is to do next. Okay. On your feet, Zach parked at the crowd, then waited for General Donovan to exit. Dismissed, he bellowed in a sing-song tone. Standing straight, arms tight at his sides, he watched people file out of the room. Each passed him silently, but he struggled to block their frantic emotions from his mind, a skill he had not yet mastered. What good was having superhuman abilities if they made your head feel like it would explode? Okay, it was awesome to blow things up using your mind, but he must learn to control this particular ability better. His cousin seemed to have control. Maybe he would ask when they had time. Right now, there was too much going on. Don't they get it? Those kids at GOHD's Region 4 holding facility are fighting for freedom, for their right to live. They will never survive without our help. But here we are, hundreds of miles away, arguing over how to keep the kids here safe. From what? What about those kids? Doesn't anyone care what happens to them? He knew all too well what they were going through. The fear, not just for yourself, but for those fighting by your side. The despair as you realize no one knows where you are. No one is coming to save you. He clenched his fists. Something had to be done. Once the room was empty, he slouched in the chair and flipped off the lights. He needed to be alone, to think. Standing at attention was making his legs shake, or was it fear creeping into his bones? On the way to General Donovan's headquarters, he led countless battles, but those were against a few untrained soldiers holding scared children or uncooperative adults. Was he ready to lead that kind of mission? To attack a secure facility guarded by experienced soldiers determined to capture or kill his kind? He believed in his men. They were well-trained, skilled, but were they truly ready? The only real battle was their escape from Region 5, which was nearly fatal. He traced the white scar running from his forehead to the dimple in his chin. Wicked. Wait till Mom sees that. She's gonna faint. Dad almost choked when he saw you. Lights off. Mean I don't want to be found, Hunter. So Zach stared at his little brother. He missed him these last few months, especially since arriving here. Having a room to himself for the first time in his life was the loneliest he had ever felt. His two brothers flopped into the chairs next to him. Trey lingered in the doorway. Hayden told us about the helicopter crashing in the blade. Hunter! Trey scolded. Zach glared at his cousin. Who is Trey to order his brother around? And since when did Hunter stop without arguing? He changed, grown up. They all had. You two should be hanging out with Dad. And Trey, you searched 3 states for your grandma. You should be with her. I'll be there in a few. He just got his family back. How could he think of leaving them to go on this mission? Part of him just wanted to go home and be a kid again. See his mom, his sister, and 3 other brothers. Was that possible? Would his mother even recognize him? His hand twitched toward the scar again. How could he tell them he had to go to lead his men? What if his dad said no? He was only 14. We have the same questions. That's why we're here. They're arguing. Your dad and your dad and my dad, along with a bunch of other adults, all arguing with General Donovan and my grandparents, Trey blurted out. Dude, that's rude. You can't just barge into someone's head without asking. You weren't going to tell us. Besides, your emotions are blasting into my brain. I couldn't help it. Yeah, Zach, you're in my head all the time. You're my lead scout, Hayden. I have to be, but I don't stick around or go in when you're not expecting it. Sorry, Trey said. It's fine, but I thought you had better control over blocking people's emotions. I was kind of jealous. I wish, especially today. Emotions are off the charts. I'm glad I'm leading a group back to the train with Papa Commander Strider. Unless my dad says no. Not sure which is harder, leading a military unit of superhuman soldiers or being 11 in command over your own dad. Ha, haven't had that problem, but you're doing great. You're different. You know, you can just ask. Ask what? What freak show downloaded into our brains to make us like this? I mean, I don't have an answer, but at least we'll know we're on the same page. Didn't know it'd be like this. I was just trying to get out of leading. I prayed for God to send someone to lead or give me the mind of a great general if I had to do it. Then boom, my head's full. I almost puked. It was all at once with you? Yeah. Battle strategies, troop deployments, even the jargon. Can't speak these days without some military slang slipping out. Wow, Trey said. You? Nah, mine's different. Mostly it's knowing what's going to happen before it happens. The leading stuff pops in sometimes. Other times it's just me, a lost kid trying to figure out what to do next. What do we do next? Zach asked. You already made up your mind. I don't have to read it to know that. And you? Zach asked. Yeah, I'm going. We're going too, the twins piped in. I'm not sure what terrifies me more, Trey, fighting a battalion of GOHD super soldiers or telling our dads we're going to fight and we're taking the rest of the children with us. I got a question while I was doing this. Yes, it's just the top 10. So 2 down, 8 to go. All right, the next one is Amendorth 1. I think I pronounced that right. The story premise is Jaina learns that she is the hidden princess of the 7 kingdoms of Amendorth, and the only way to unite the kingdoms is to travel the 7 kingdoms with her friends Thibaul, Yanis, Alda, and others to discover her true powers as queen and convince each kingdom to follow her. So what precedes this scene is that she finds out that she is actually the long lost princess, and she has to debate as to whether or not to join in this party here. Okay. Amendorth 1 is the name. Jaina was exhausted by the time the firelit torches flickering in the distance of the next village over reached her view. They had been running for hours, and no one bothered to check behind them to see if they were still being chased. The aching stitch in her side told her that if she ran any further, however, she would likely keel over and die. "Stop!" Thibault shouted, the single word taking all that was left in him. After everything that happened, Jaina nearly forgot he followed along and was surprised his slender self was able to keep up. Yanis came to a halt, seemingly less exhausted than the other two, but his breath was labored and uneven when he said, "We need to find somewhere to rest." Were they planning to rest at the village? Jaina had no clue where they would wind up, but another village did not sound safe with the king's men hunting her down. As she started to protest, however, the leaves behind her made a quick rustling sound, and Yanis pulled her away from the noise as quickly as it had happened. "Who's there?" he called out, a small orb of light hovering over the palm of his hand as he extended it outward to see. His other hand was already pulling his sword out, and Gemma flew the few paces ahead to get a look at the intruder. From behind a tree came a scraggly blonde head and a cheeky, crooked grin. Jaina recognized the intruder as the boy who she and Thibault ran into during the trading festival 2 nights prior. His name escaped her mind, but her pounding heart immediately eased at seeing him, having sensed no immediate danger from such a foolish boy. "Alda," he stated, as though he was reminding them instead of introducing himself. "Were you following?" Thibault panted out, but couldn't bring himself to finish before splitting into a coughing fit. Nah, Alda grinned. Been here for a bit, really. Once I had seen that village was crawling with good old Marcelvani's men, excuse me there, Giannis dropped his sword at these words. They would not be resting in the village. With danger so near, Jaina feared they wouldn't be resting for quite some time. Jaina's head began to pound, partially from the exhaustion from running and partially from the series of events that unfolded before her just mere hours ago. All their lives, she and Thibault talked of going on adventures and seeing all of what the Seven Kingdoms had to offer. Only mere hours ago, her prophecy was laid out before her, telling her that she needed to gather 7 armies to take her rightful spot as the Queen of Amendorth. When Giannis and Gemma nearby, with Giannis and Gemma nearby to confirm it, her village burning down, and her father, that man's betrayal, Jaina knew that the seer spoke the truth. This particular adventure, Jaina feared, was far bigger than what she imagined. Thibault walked up and brushed his thumb gently across her cheek. She hadn't realized she had been crying. The simple gesture set everything into motion, however, and Jaina felt her knees buckle beneath her before she crumpled to the ground and sobbed uncontrollably. Thibault followed her to the ground and rubbed her back with one hand and moved her raven hair out of her face with the other. A burning sensation filled Jaina's chest at his attempts to console her, and she jerked herself out of his grasp. "What do you all want from me?" she cried. The heat continued to rise from her chest and to her face, causing her tears to run hot down her face as if they boiled inside her. Silence filled the air, followed by darkness as Giannis killed the glowing orb in the palm of his hand. A small sense of relief washed over Jaina from the cloak of darkness around her. It would have been easier for her then if the boys surrounding her decided to never speak again and simply leave her alone, but she understood that wouldn't happen, and it absolutely couldn't happen. Giannis broke the silence. "There are no options left, Jaina. If this village is occupied by Marcelvani's men, the others around it will be too." Jaina understood this, but her head pounded on it as she searched for all of her options. Excuse me. "We could hide in the woods," Thibault said matter-of-factly. "She and I could run together and hide in the woods. Together." Jaina placed her fingers to her temples as she tried to think of anything but the current situation and her inability to provide Thibault an answer to his proposal. The idea of marrying him seemed like such a funny idea in the great scheme of things. What was so big and daunting to her 2 days ago was now the least of her worries. "And be on the run your entire lives?" asked Giannis. "Of course not," Alda chimed in. "They'd be caught before then." "Who exactly are you?" he asked, but Jaina had enough. "It doesn't matter," she said quietly, standing as she spoke. You're right to say no where we'll be safe. Even if I go with you, I won't be safe." She eyed Thibault and caught a glimpse of the hurt on his face. "We won't be safe." Gemma purred in Giannis's ear, and he nodded before saying aloud what Jaina had realized once Alda arrived. "There's 5 of us." Jaina nodded. The phrase, "through the strength of 5, they'll conquer the night," repeating in her mind. "We'll come with you," she said, this time more firmly as the tears subsided. Giannis began to ease the tension in his face when he added, "But only to the first kingdom, to the elves. Then I'll know for sure." Thibault backed away and shook his head. I'm going to take a quick drink here. All right. The next story does not have a title. It is untitled. And let me pull out here. This is somebody is it says Emery returns to the mansion of her boss, Alistair, leader of the Mafia, and then she gets offered an intriguing job that will sever Alistair offers an intriguing job that will sever Emery's contractual obligation down to 10 more kills. She is to find and deliver a target so that the Martells, a very powerful family, can make him pay for killing their leader. So it's a whole mob situation going on here. Somebody was asking if any of these are real world stories. Yes, this is not as fantastical a story. Okay. "I have a new job for you, Emery," Alistair says in front of me. his voice firm and laced with excitement. I'm kneeling in his living room, my head bowed. I raise my fist at his words. Of course. What is the task this time? I say, my knees groaning against the hard-wood floor. Ah, see, this time you have a choice. My eyes sharpen on his handsome form, and I feel my mouth open slightly in surprise. I snap it shut as he continues. A troublesome hitman has been spotted at the edge of my territory and seems to be wreaking some havoc there. Darren's control there is feeble at best, and I thought it would be prudent to lead him, my personal bounty hunter, in this matter. His blue eyes are bright and shining. This particular target is quite skilled, taught by Master Takai, and will be difficult to apprehend. On a rather happy coincidence, though, the Martells believe he killed their matriarch and are wanting vengeance. Takai's name gives me a start. Anyone wanting to be skilled in martial arts traveled from all around the world to be taught by him. My eyebrows quirk at the rest of his words, not understanding where this is all going. Usually I'm given a target, a location, and a specified souvenir to take off the victim. In and out, easy. Your task is to find, capture, and return him here. Then those Martell harpies will shred him to bits, and they shall owe me an invaluable favor. A favor? What's he gunning for? For all his wealth and power, he surely didn't need more, but I do the math in my head. It would take a week alone to travel to the outer territory, not to mention tracking the hitman down in the first place and dealing with him all along the way back. I could see this trip would easily take several weeks, maybe more. This is so out of my wheelhouse. In exchange for this unorthodox request of you, he says, snapping me out of my thoughts, I'd be willing to lower your contract to 10 more kills. My eyes widen and my mouth pops open once again. My contract with him is so obnoxiously large, I'd long come to realize and accept that I would die in service to the Mafia. Freedom, a dream long since dead. I'd long given up hope of having a life of my own, of ever being free, never having a family or a home that was truly mine, somewhere quiet in the countryside, maybe. No, those dreams had long been shelved, tucked away in a vestige of my mind to gather dust. But now, hope blooms once more. Only 10 more jobs and I could be free. Granted, he'd not given a timeline on those 10 assignments, but at least there was the possibility, of freedom now. I can see your wheels spinning, little one. You are free to reject this assignment as well. It shall be your choice. But I do believe that my reward is quite compelling. Alistair gives me a toothy grin, and there's a hint of malice on the peripherals of his expression. A knot forms in my stomach suddenly, and I'm overcome with the casual offering of this assignment and its rewards. You will also be given a few specialized items to help capture him. He continues, dangling the prospect of new toys to play with as well and setting me back on my heels. He is offering help too? What kind of beast is this? Is it truly that fearsome that I would need assistance? What is he not telling me? Does it matter? No. No, it doesn't. I find myself clearing my throat and saying, I accept. His smile deepens and a shudder skitters up my spine. What have I gotten myself into? All right. So that is that story there. Like I said, it wasn't titled. So in the voting, it'll say untitled and it'll say 10 kills reward, just so you can find it if you want to vote for it. All right. The next one is entitled The Texas Treasure Hunt. No, the sneeze was not part of this of the challenge. The Texas Treasure Hunt. This feels like a conglomeration of our last two challenges because we have a whole treasure hunt theme. And this is young adult. The premise is Outlaw Sam's Bass legendary gold worth over $5 million today's dollar could be hidden in Bastrop State Park. So Justin Winters comes up with a plan to turn a 6th grade field trip into a treasure hunt, unaware that an 8th grade drug dealer plans to use the trip to steal prescription meds. So it's kind of an interesting premise there, a little different. And the inciting incident that happened right before here is when they're splitting up in order to look up for the treasure. And it says Justin accidentally disturbs a protected species of Houston toads. He slips, falls on his butt, and fends off the creature's attacking mate. And his laugh breaks through the air. In response, Justin teases Jake about the football team, and so on and so forth. I feel like we could jump right in. The characters are pretty strong in here, so I think you'll follow along. All right. The snap of dry twigs and crackle of dead leaves draws closer. I'm being followed. Dev pushes past a pine branch that whips back and forth in rhythm with his stomping feet. It must be nice to have a reputation that allows you to walk around with your "don't bully me" shield. And Dev slams his fists on his hips. Ignore a friend who needs your help. A lot to unpack in that accusation. I deflect. What bullying? And who said Nick is my friend? Dev stands his ground. You know what I mean? Listen, I know you're new here and you haven't seen all the crazy stuff that Nick's pulled, but he takes great pleasure in making my life miserable. There's a reason people call him Slicky Nicky. I mirror Dev's fist on hip stance. Why should I stick my neck out for him? Because standing up to bullies is the right thing to do. Dev's taken a big leap. All I saw was Nick giving Jake a bag of something. How is that proof of anything? I get a rationalization rush. And if you're so sure Nick's being bullied, why didn't you do anything? What can I do to stop a guy like Jake? Stump him with a difficult math problem? Got to admit, that's funny. Okay, I get it. I'm still on the defensive. But I'm not sure why you called me a coward and think I could have done something. The whole school knows you have skills. Not the whole school. Jake's never heard of me until Peter mentioned something to him on the bus ride here. Fine. Our whole class. Dev's snort makes me glad he's a skinny 6th grader, not a raging bull. Fine, I snort back. I can take care of myself, but I don't go looking for fights. Don't 2nd degree black belts have a code? I throw my hands in the air. Where did that come from? A smart guy like you couldn't figure out that Nick didn't willingly give Jake that bag? I took a few karate classes. Sure, I sucked at it, but I remember every belt's life skill requirement. To prove it, he rattles off all 12, starting with yellow, patience, and ending with black, excellence. I'm ready to move on. If you want to keep yelling at me for not being a mind reader and minding my own business, you're welcome to do it while I keep searching for treasure. I switch the detector back on and scan the ground. So you're not going to do anything? This time, it's not disapproval he telegraphs. It's disappointment. Listen, unlike Nick, Jake's never done anything to me except laugh at me when I got attacked by a mad Houston toad. I check out a red blotch the female left on my forearm. Bottom line, I've got no quarrel with the guy, and I don't see how my belt status requires me to start one. The finder vibrates. Oh, that reminds me. Here's that Geo coin I got for you. From my pocket, I pull out a light blue coin with a golden rim. Thanks. I'll log it in later. Dev drops the coin inside his bag, oozing a mix of defeatism and resignation. The chain of subject is a welcome relief. I pull up my trowel and start digging in the spot my device highlighted. After a few scoops, I produce another bottle cap. Really, if bottle caps were gold coins, I'd be rolling in treasure by now. You know, a sneaky way to hide a geocache is to use a pop-top container. It's a plastic tube with a fake cap. I brush the coin on my shirt to remove some of the dirt and hand it to him. Nope, worthless. Dev throws the cap in the lake skipping stone style. So did you guys find anything on the other side of the lake, I ask? Dev shows me his app and points out the spot where he'd been finding caches. He stops. I almost missed this one. Nick was leaning against the tree and his hand was covering up a bark hiding container. Speaking of Nick, we should help him. I thought we'd finish this conversation. Sorry, but he's not my problem. Dev pushes back. So as long as Jake leaves you alone, you don't care what he does. I slap my head with both hands. What do you want me to do? Beat him up? Get suspended for fighting? Or worse, get kicked out of school? This conversation is going in circles. I've got no proof that Nick's being bullied or Jake's stealing anything from anyone. You don't need proof. You're a witness. You were a participant, I snapped. Why don't you tell Mr. Hill what you saw, or Principal Huber, about it when we get back to school? What a great idea. Dev looks at me like I have two heads, and they're both null sets. Mr. Hill's an assistant football coach, and everyone knows that Principal Huber and Jake's father are best friends. He adds, throwing his hands in the air. Who's going to believe us? Or who's going to believe me? Excuse me. Why would you lie? He points at himself. I wouldn't, but I'm not you. I'm not an approved athlete with the Distinguished Service Award. And I know you could hear what Jake said. A teacher might believe you, or Jake might back down if he had the guts to stand up to him. Frustrated, I blurt out, I don't even know what I'm standing up for. Jiminy Christmas. Seems to me that Nick might stop messing with people if someone gave him a taste of his own medicine. Dev furrows his brows. Funny you should mention medicine. Jake's been stealing our classmates' prescription medication, and you don't seem to care. Before he storms off, Devs drops one last thought-provoking comment. I'm sorry I agreed to help you. You're a selfish fraud, Mr. Winters. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. A little congested today. That was the Texas Treasure Hunt. All right. I'm going to stop my cam just 1 second here. Oh, don't worry. I'm fine. Just a little congested. All right. Next, we have The Ghost and the Dragon. It's a pretty cool title. Ghost and the Dragon. To Daisuke, the two girls looked like koi washed up on the moonlit riverbank. Beautiful and bright silk that matched the colors of Majushage. I don't think I pronounced that right. I pronounced in the fall, but dying from the lack of water. He didn't know what waters they swam in, but he knew it wasn't the ragged edges of the Mist Mountain province. The river hadn't managed to kill the girls, but the cold in the wilderness likely would. Tomo, hiding in the reeds beside him, touched his shoulder. We should help them, she whispered over the patter of spring rain. It'd been days since they seen a clear sky. I just realized I didn't give you the premise of this. Let me go back. Let me give you the premise. This is Daisuke rescues his childhood friend Tomo from being imprisoned in a brothel after her father dies, leaving her to pay off his debts. Together they escape into the wilds, trying to stay one step ahead of the gangsters. And what previously occurred right before this was Daisuke managed to rescue Tomo, and they fled into the uncharted wilderness. Okay, so this is them kind of debating what to do next after that. All right. We should help them, she whispered over the patter of spring rain. It'd been days since they seen a clear sky. Daisuke shook his head. They weren't red tigers with blades and chains, so they weren't his problem. We have food. Not enough. They'd caught trout that morning, but the hollowness in Tomo's cheeks betrayed how close they'd been to starving. One of the girls on the riverbank crawled over to the other one. They're like us, Tomo said. He frowned. Similar ages, maybe, but he and Tomo had nothing in common with people who wore silk. We can't risk it. They're not red tigers. Of course they're not, he said. If they had been, Tomo and Daisuke would be running in the dark trying to escape. But we have enough problems of our own. One of the girls helped the other one sit up. They huddled together against the night. It wouldn't work. They needed to get out of their clothes dry and next to a fire. Daisuke, she said, we can't just watch them die. You're right. We should get back to camp. Wait, Tomo. What? Tomo brushed him off instead. Hello, she called out. Are you okay? The girl who crawled over jumped to her feet, keeping the weaker girl at her back. Who are you? I'm Tomo. Daisuke gritted his teeth. She knew better than to use a real name. Tomo is just too good-hearted for her own good. We've got a fire and food, Tomo said. It looks like you could use the help. We? Yes, she shrugged and smiled. My friend is waiting to conk you on the head just in case you prove dangerous. The girl's eyes darted wildly. I was just jesting, Tomo said. Really, you need to get out of those wet clothes and near a fire. Groaning, Daisuke stood. There was no ignoring these girls now, and he had to keep Tomo safe. I'm Daisuke, he said. What's your name? I'm Ami, the girl on the ground said. My protective sister here is Iniko. Daisuke peered at them carefully as he approached. Iniko was dark-eyed, pale, but with a fire in the line of her mouth and her glare. Daisuke had seen her type in passing. Upper class, never worked a day, and who valued people like Daisuke and Tomo less than wilted cabbages. Not that he'd ever talked directly to one before. He was too smart to be the tallest grass to be cut. Ami, the girl who'd spoken, was also pale, but whether it was from suffering from the cold or from not having ever worked under the sun, Daisuke couldn't tell. Ainiko tensed, her eyes locked to the stick in Daisuke's hand. He slipped in the cloth wrapped around his waist, I'm guessing, then raised his empty hands to them. Look, when strangers appear on the shore in the middle of the night, we have to be cautious. How far is the camp? Aniko said. For us, 10 minutes. For you, maybe 20, Daisuke said. Tomo tossed him a glare. Daisuke sighed. He really hated it when she glared at him. Groaning, he stepped forward. Look, I can help you get there faster. Stop, Ainiko said. Not you. She glanced at Tomo. Her, she can help us. Daisuke gritted his teeth. Tomo had just recovered from being sick and she was still weak from the winter. I'm much stronger. It's fine, Tomo said. Just lead the way. Daisuke looked from Tomo to Ainiko, then to Ami. He doubted the pair were even sisters. Ainiko had delicate features, while Ami was plainer and rounder. Of course, Tomo had probably already figured that out, but didn't care. It was part of what made her so beautiful. But Daisuke worried that he wouldn't be able to protect her, just like he hadn't been able to protect his mother from his father. Daisuke, Tomo said, please, Ami feels like an icicle. He ran his fingers through his messy hair and said, poop on a stick. He spun on his heels and led them toward the camp. All right. That was The Ghost and the Dragon. All right. The next one is Existence. It's called Existence. And this premise is, after dying and being resuscitated, a young woman discovers she has the ability to time travel and uses her power to uncover a family secret that spans generations. But as she delves deeper, she realizes the consequences of changing the past could have catastrophic effects on her own life and everyone around her. So what previously just happened was Ava discovers an old family photo and notices a strange discrepancy in the pictures, leading her to believe that her entire family history may have been fabricated. James points out that she and he look like her great-great-grandparents. Upon investigation, they find out the grandparents were burned at the stake for witchcraft. All right. Let's move on here. This is my fate, my destiny, whatever you want to call it. James tapped his finger on the table. Maybe. Ethan leaned close to her. Ava, you need to realize what can happen if you change anything, no matter how small. I get it, Ethan. Do you? His eyes locked onto her. Have you ever heard of the butterfly effect? The movie? No, his nostrils flared. Edward Lawrence's theory. Even the tiniest thing, like the flutter of a butterfly's wings, could result in larger, unpredicted consequences. Ava sighed. I won't do anything. I'll just look. She hung her head. I just need to know what happened, what they did. She rubbed her finger across the tin-type photo. The rusted metal flaked under her touch. There are no recorded witches burned at the stake in America. So what is this? Why? You need to think very hard about this. Ethan straightened himself in his seat. You could not only alter the past, present, and future, but yourself and the entire world. She bit her lip. I need to know. Shaking his head, Ethan rose. I didn't want to say this, but here it is. He poked a finger into the tabletop. You do the wrong thing, and you could erase yourself. She twisted to him. She said she would only look, Sophie said. If that's what she said she'll do, then that's what she'll do. Charlotte folded her arms and peered between Ethan and Ava. I don't know, Ava. Maybe you should listen to Ethan. Thomas threw his head back and roared laughter. Do you hear yourselves? You all act like she can actually time travel. His face drooped into seriousness. She was dead. She could have brain damage, making her think she's time traveling. So you think she's lying? Sophie maneuvered toward him. Not lying, just mistaken. Collected moans and sighs from the group sounded. Now, let's not get out of control here, James said, pumping his hands. I may have a solution. I'm out of here. Thomas stomped to the door. I'm shocked you all are buying this. The door slammed behind him. What's your idea, James? Ava asked. Everyone's attention focused on him. I'll set up my equipment around the doorway. When you touch the doorknob, I'll see the portal. If I'm correct, this will be akin to a wormhole. If I'm next to you, I could maybe go with you. Ethan stiffened. Go with her? Are you crazy? Now it's double the danger. James glared at Ethan. I'm confident I can do this. He went back to Ava. I would follow you like a shadow. Ethan slapped his forehead. My God, you're going to destroy space-time. You're not going to alter time, but annihilate the universe itself and everything in it. That won't happen. It can't. James aimed his attention again at Ethan. This is all insane, Charlotte said, waving her hands in the air. Ava, please don't do this. She clasped Ava's hand. Please. Listen to me, Ava. I can do this. Time won't be destroyed, James said. If something goes wrong, we will slingshot out of where we are and into our present. No one knows what will occur. No one can know, Ethan interjected. Butterfly effect, chaos theory. One tiny thing can change it all. Stop it, all of you. Ava ran her fingers into her hair and clenched fistfuls of her locks. It's my decision. She glanced around at their faces. This is my destiny, my fate. She sucked in a deep breath. My choice. Each one turned away and wandered into other rooms. All except James. I can do this. We can do this, he said. This isn't your destiny. It isn't? No, he exhaled and swallowed hard. I am your destiny. Her eyes met his. Me and my equipment will see you through. He touched her shoulder. Every 10 minutes, the machine will disrupt the portal, and we will bounce right back, he chuckled. A day later, then we left, of course. Ava's brow creased to a deep V. How do you know all this? He grinned. How do you know all this? He grinned. Lots of tests. She opened her mouth, and he raised his hand to stop her. Don't ask details. I don't want to give them. Just trust me. His blue eyes glinted. You can go through with me? Yes, like a shadow. You'll make sure I don't screw up? He fingered an X over his heart. I promise to prevent you from changing anything. Ava stifled a smile. I believe you. All right, so that was Existence, time travel story. All right, and the next one is... I don't have a title for it. Wait, hold on. Maybe I do. Yes. Hold on. Crystal Dances is the title of this one. This is an impoverished kingdom just recovering from a plague discovers a magical rare resource within its borders. The kingdom is protected by an ancient pact with a dragon preventing invasion. The princess of the kingdom is now besieged with suitors seeking to control the magical resource by marrying onto the throne. No one is sincere, but she has to decide who's going to be best for her and her kingdom. And I believe that at this point we have a let's see here, let me get this right. They have to basically she has to pick somebody to end up marrying. So you're going to get that in the text. It's pretty clear. The crow's tower was high enough I could see the river. It glittered under the moonlight, a ribbon of stars winding through the valley. I sat on the stone's railing with my feet dangling over the open air. The inside stunk of the birds that gave the tower its name, which was a blessing. At least it didn't smell like the bodies we fed them. Lily, princess? Aura's voice echoed up the stone stairway. She poked her head above the level of the open trapdoor, her frizzy black hair visible far before her face. When she saw me, she squeaked and scrambled up. No, Lily, don't do it. I know things are bad, but there are a lot of options before that. I puzzled over what she was talking about for a moment, then laughed. I'm not going to jump, you goose. I came up here to think. This is the last place I ever saw my mother. When I'm here, it makes me feel like I'm closer to her. Silly, isn't it? Aura inched towards the railing like the ground would drop out from under her, or like she didn't believe I wasn't here to end it. Not silly at all. I go out to the field where they burned my brother whenever I want to talk to him. See a few fair people doing the same. The city plague pits have more attendants than the temples these days. Is this where they brought the pals dead then? This is where they brought my mother, I snorted and started to pick at the dirt under my nails. It was the kind of thing I had to start minding. Tradition is that we join our flesh to the sky before our bones are put to rest in the crypts. It's stupid, really. If you read the Seneschal's notes from when this tradition was set, they decided on this only after the dragon refused to eat the royal remains. I asked him about it, and he was insulted. He said we set up the tithe so that we wouldn't eat humans, and he prefers cows to carrion. Will you come away from there, please? Being this high up makes me dizzy. Ora had stopped several paces away, unable to push herself any further. Her knuckles were white from wringing them in her skirts. I sighed and took pity on her. It was probably mean of me to take joy in the pure terror on her face as I hiked my legs up and spun around to face her before hopping down. Don't worry so much. I do this all the time. She glowered at me. I haven't been at the palace long, but I'm fairly sure that's not very refined behavior. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I rolled my neck until it popped. I'm lacking a bit in refinement. All those years when I was supposed to be learning diplomacy and manners, I spent hiding in my room or making up the work of dead servants. I can't hold my own against a bunch of princes that have been studying manipulation all their lives. Alone, I'm going to screw this up, and who'll help me? Father is a musk without mother. He says he wants to retain our sovereignty, but he wouldn't fight for it. The dragon doesn't understand human politics, and even if he did, it's not like he could be with me in the palace to consult on the spot. That wizard Rias seems more than adept at manipulating people. If his hold on your father is anything to go by, she wrinkled her nose. From what I heard, this was mostly his idea. I raised an eyebrow. Were you listening at the door? She sniffed and smoothed out her skirt with exaggerated dignity. I was waiting to see if I was needed. Not my fault if you were all talking too loud. True. I chuckled and leaned against the railing. And yes, Rias suggested this, but only as a stopgap measure. I'm not sure what just yet, but he has some sort of plan in mind. He's been after the throne for years. I'm not blind enough to not have seen that. Funny thing is, before the mine collapse, he almost had me convinced to accept his proposal. He was the best thing for the kingdom. The best I could do, anyway. Now, I've seen a new side to him since the crystal came to the surface. All that potential power, all that potential wealth. I just don't know what he'll do. I don't know if he wants the throne anymore. Ora put her hands on her hips. Well, what are you going to do then? I've heard an awful lot of moaning about how hard this is going to be, but not a lot of solutions. I bit my lip. That was the question, wasn't it? I'll do the best I can and prepare to be damned by history as the fool who lost the kingdom. There's the spirit, Ora rolled her eyes. She marched towards the stairs and gestured for me to follow her. Come on, then. We'll get you some supper before you're off to bed. Remember, you have to keep up on your beauty sleep for all your new suitors. She had earned her right to laugh at me. That didn't mean I appreciated it. All right, so that was Crystal Dances trying to accept a proposal. We have 2 stories left. Excuse me. This one is Soft Spot. And here's the premise of Soft Spot. A homeless 25-year-old New Orleans man, Christopher Topher, known as Saint on the Streets, gets bashed on the head, wakes up in the hospital, and doesn't know why or who did it. After surgery, a piece of skull the size of a dime is missing. He is detoxed from alcohol and drugs in the hospital. He walks down Canal Street to find his friend Mad Dog, who is a mostly homeless alcoholic and who took him under his wing on the streets. He asks the all-knowing street oracle Mad Dog how he ended up in the hospital. The old Cajun has no idea. So that's the beginning of it. And then ultimately he discovers he has these powers and he has to figure out what to do with them. So this is after he discovers that the soft spot in his head gives him powers. Okay. Hands on her hips, Gloria tapped her squirrel foot at him. Such an audacious thing to do. Already most of the way down the road, she'd drive him the rest of the way to insanity. Easy as a Sunday cruise to the bayou in Hal's convertible spider. Her Cupid doll, definitive Gloria countenance with her peppermint minty eyes staring at him. It might be a pleasure with her at the wheel. He reached up to comb his hair back out of his eyes, but she slapped his hand down. Don't you dare touch that soft spot and read my mind. You need to find out who knocked you over the head and into the hospital, where they took that piece of crawdad carapace you call a skull. Woo-wee, Miss Gloria, Mad Dog cried out. It ain't proper to treat a grown man like a child. I say, it ain't right. He wiped the sweat from his brow with his dirty pocket square. He side-eyed Topher, who leaned forward, chin on hands folded atop his cane. Someone put too much pepper in that gumbo, boy. I say she got too much spice on her, that one. Don't listen to that old inebriated coot. It's dangerous to sit by. Well, someone might be out there waiting to finish the job. You got this thing? She flourished her hand. This ability. You got it for a reason. You got to figure out what happened and why. Woo, looky here, missy, Mad Dog rumbled, pointing a fat finger at her. He goes poking in the dark corners round here. Is sure enough gonna find me a pile of trouble. It may have nothing to do with the lost souls that messed him up and gave him that there piece of wood he's now got to lean on, but it will be bad trouble, I tell you. You don't know. You're a sweet young piece of tender meat that only treads the quarter while the gentlemen wearing their seersucker and loafers. But I tell you, missy, he'll get more than his fair share of hurt. He goes sticking his nose with the palmettos. To punctuate his argument, he took a long draw from the rye bottle neck poking out of the top of the paper bag. Okay. Settle and give me some peace to think. His gaze rested on Mad Dog, his oldest, most loyal friend in the world, second only to Hal, then flicked to this creature, some crazy fairy woman, half Tinkerbell and half tiger. Shit, but she drove him wild in more ways than one. He itched like hell to drag his fingers back across the soft spot and read her mind. But the problem with sobriety was it brought back integrity. No screwed up excuses anymore. No half-lit morality to excuse his actions. That station played all gospel all the time in the head now. He hated that shit. But back before the accident, he'd just have the old Cajun past him the hooch, get ripped and forget about it. Maybe it'd be safer, maybe not. It wouldn't matter. The only thing that ever mattered was the next way to numb himself after Salamander had died. A dead girlfriend, always a good justification to stay hammered, was not good enough for him now. He stared across the Mississippi. The rippling eddies and boiling undertow dragged his mind down to the muddy truth. It gave him a headache. Salamander's death, loss of his scholarship, his destitution, life on the streets, and getting hit on the head and losing memory of the attack. Wasn't it enough bad juju for a lifetime? Why go searching for more? Some might call lack of memory a boon. Who wanted to remember crap like that? His eyes traveled up Gloria's lithe body, raking up her smooth tan legs and the cute short iteration of the Southern Mint Julep summer dress to her pink lips. She hovered over him, her piercing green eyes boring another hole into his head. He didn't ever want to forget those eyes, though, and somewhere deep down he recognized he never would. They showed concern for him, his welfare. How'd he end up so damn lucky? He landed in it for sure. She was different from Salamander. Salamander who didn't give a shit about anything in the world. Salamander who had everything and nothing at the same time. She'd been the definition of self-contained, impervious to his pleas, to her gin and bitter's end. He peered through the curtain of his fallen hair into the windows to that captivating soul above him, his thoughts swinging like the pendulum bob of the antebellum clock. She stood over him, fixing the prized decision out of the dime-sized hole in his cranium. Oh, come on, Topher. Her foot started going again. Hold on a minute here. He stood up to confront her, but he rose too fast. He careened forward. Mad Dog said, Whoa, watch it there. But Gloria wrapped her arms around his waist and held him. Not saying a word, she squeezed him a little. Was it a hug? It might be. He wanted to think it was. When was the last time a woman hugged him? Maybe. But no, Salamander didn't hug. Screwed his brains out, sure, but hug? No. He inhaled. Her scent mingled with the breeze off the river and sunlight in the air. Things he couldn't begin to name bombarded his olfactory sense. Who needed alcohol? What alcohol? You okay? She asked and backed out of the embrace, holding his elbow. Yeah. He placed his cane under him and caught his balance. She might walk away if he didn't say yes and be gone forever. Screw it. The lady's right. He smiled down at her. Mad Dog's gaze shifted from one to the other. He shook his head. Laissez les bon temps rouler. I don't think that's right. It's French. My apologies. That was Soft Spot. So that one is going to say New Orleans Amnesia, if you want to find that one. And the last one I have here is not titled, I don't believe. Nope. So this is anonymous. Oh, but before I read the last one, I do want to actually tell you something else. And that is I want to read off the honorary mentions. So the honorary mentions, people that just barely missed the final, are Eric Clark, Tony King, Wendy Wilson, Just Rose, Pegerty Long, Mike Packer, Audrey Holisher, Bianca Reeves, Brian Donovan, James Tully, the real L. Sean, that's an email, and Austinus04. So you all made it to the second to last round, but not quite to the finalist. All right. So next. Oh, yay! Audrey. Woo! Woo! All right. Let me grab a quick drink right here. 1 second. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. So this one is a woman inherits a house in the countryside that is rumored to be haunted, but when she arrives and renovates it, she begins to experience strange occurrences that make her wonder if it really is true. Kind of a typical premise here. The inciting incident is when she actually enters into the house, and then she has to decide whether or not to stay or not. All right, here we go. Well, now, Linda clicks her tongue, hand on hip. You look a sight, sweetie. Morgan forgets to step down into the diner. She stumbles, bumping her table into a grunt. You know what, though? The funny thing about it is that, hold on. Let me actually bring this up. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Well, now, Linda. Sorry, I thought I got something off here. Well, now, Linda clicks her tongue, hand on her hip. You look a sight, sweetie. Morgan forgets to step down into the diner. She stumbles, bumping into a table with a grunt. Didn't sleep much. Oh, the waitress scans her, eyebrow rising in judgment. Morgan takes a deep breath. She can just hear the I never would have guessed in her tone. A dear, don't even think about it, Matthew Shepard. A teenager draws back from the counter, smile twitching as his eyes dart back and forth. Linda tisks, pointing to the door. The teen goes, muttering an apology. Sorry, sweetie, go on. A deer decided going over my areas was better than going around. Scared me out of my sleep. I think I was still half dreaming. The part of its jaw was missing, but it walked off, so it can't have been. She settles into a booth, digging out the documents the lawyer gave her so many weeks ago. Linda? The waitress shakes her head and smiles strained. Nothing, sweetie, just odd. Her brows draw down, eyes flickering out towards the counter. Thomas turns in his seat, hand raising in a lazy wave before settling back on Morgan. You don't see animals out there. They've been avoiding it for years. A few papers flutter to the ground, the ones in her hands crumpling in a punished grip. What? Last time a farmer took a herd, back in 87, I think all of them died in weeks. Not that your family's at fault, you know, but people's around here avoid it. Don't want to lose profit because of a curse. Can't claim that on insurance. Right. The locals think the entire property is haunted. Morgan takes a deep breath, consciously relaxing her grip on the papers. So anything I can get you, sweetie? She forces a smile. Not yet. I'll come up when I'm ready. Let me know. The bell above the door rings out. Linda's smile growing as she takes in the newcomer. Why, welcome back, Jack. Thanks, Lynn. The grin the man has on his face is tight. He strides forward, accepting the hug from Linda with the patience Morgan wishes she had. Once Linda lets go, he turns to Morgan, hand held out to shake. Name's Jack Woodward. You must be the new owner of the old Darnell farm. Morgan half stands, nose scrunching up. She forces the corner of her mouth up in a facsimile of a smile, taking Jack's hand in a firm grip. Morgan Ainsley. I don't use Darnell. Cool. You mind if I... He gestures to the opposite bench. I'll even get the papers you dropped. If you want. I'm not looking to date. Morgan's cut off when Jack snorts. Oh shit. He slaps a hand over his mouth, trying to cover the grin spreading across his face. No, I ain't trying to flirt. Eyebrow raising, Morgan leans back and crosses his arms. Uh-huh. And what are you doing if not that? Saying hi and offering to help you. Jack's mouth is still stretched in a grin where he raises his hand in a placating gesture. And I'd rather not get on Sophie Kim's bad side. She asked me to watch after you while you're here. If I'm honest, ordered me to help. Morgan tilts her head, looking closer at Jack. He's starting to seem familiar in the way a stranger on the subway looks familiar after seeing them near daily. If he knows Sophie, she'll have seen him in the many photos her friend likes to share with everyone, especially if you're reluctant. Jacob, you're the Jacob who built her the wall-to-wall wardrobe for your first anniversary. Guilty as charged, and since I were told you, I'd like you to let me. He pauses, glancing around before leaning in. I'm not too fond of my boys to risk not doing it, if you know what I mean. He wiggles his eyebrows as he says this, and Morgan's helpless to stop the snort that escapes her. Those words reflect Sophie all right. This Jack guy doesn't mind so much, not if the way he's smiling is any indication. Sure, but I might not be the owner for long. Jack's smile slips from his face, jaw clenching. They ain't telling you that shit about the curse, are they? Ain't no curse on the land or house. Just a bunch of old folks who find anything different around here is a sign of Satan. Oh, Morgan glances over to Linda, who jumps when Morgan catches her eye. They have, but it's that I got an offer for the property already. I don't think Mr. Graves cares if it's renovated. He leans back into the bench, lips pinching. Bet the bastard offered you a lot less than it's worth. The words are soft, but Jack projected them, like he wants everyone in the counter to hear them. Morgan's shoulders raise as she ducks her head. She doesn't care if Thomas is still sitting at the counter. I have no idea if he did or not, Morgan replies. It depends on how much I'll have to put into fixing it up. If it's a lot, I'll sell it as is. She holds up a hand. Jack's mouth is open, eyebrows somehow even more furrowed. I'm hoping not to. I can get a lot of money for it renovated properly. Since Sophie sent you, I assume you can do more than carve things? Oi, the ice in his gaze thaws a bit. He bangs a hand under the table. I'm a certified carpenter. Half the buildings here got done by me. Morgan grinned, sticking her hand out for Jack to shake. Then you'll have no problem helping me decide if it's worth putting the work in. Sophie ain't told me how much of a brat you are. His grip is firm when they shake on it. All right. So that was the final one. I did not have a title for that, so I am going to call that Haunted House, just for the sake of simplicity. All right. So I am going to go ahead and share this survey with you. Let me just double check and make sure everything looks good on my side. Yep. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it in the chat. Thank you so much for everybody for participating. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Next Tuesday, we're going to be doing a kickoff of more mystery. This is kind of the mystery month, in case you didn't notice, from yesterday. And if you haven't checked out what came out yesterday, I put up a little video of some easy tips of writing mystery. And so you can check that out. And then next week on Tuesday, we're going to go into some of those tips and some other tips, some easy things for mystery. Sorry that the video is a little bit funky right now. I don't know if it has to do with the weather around here or what's going on. I know it is raining. How long do you have to vote? Please vote like right now in the next few minutes, because I'd like to reveal it here live. So I'm going to keep it open for, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Just a quick vote. All right. So this next week, we also have the Accountability Club, which is coming on Monday at 11 a.m. We have the Fantasy Club, which is back at its normal time on Tuesdays. And then we also have the Fantasy Club tomorrow evening. So if you don't generally get to check out the Fantasy Club, because 4th of July evening was Tuesday this week, we decided to push it back to tomorrow evening. So tomorrow evening is going to be a mystery, is going to be a Fantasy Club. If you would like to share your actual story, either the one that was shared here or it maybe was not one of the finalists, it was one of the honorable mentions, you can go ahead and check out in the AutoCrit community. You don't see anything mystery on Monday. It was Tuesday. Tuesday video was about mystery. And next Tuesday, we will do another one. Mystery Club is going to begin at the end of this month. When will you get feedback on yours? For the story structure challenge, there wasn't automatic feedback. If you did the short story challenge, you could have purchased feedback. So that would be how you could get feedback. That was for the short story challenge. Also, if you bought the Plotcraft workshop, there was feedback as part of that as well. Now, if you would like feedback, if you hit the little bubble in the AutoCrit window, we can look into something, because we can always unlock maybe the short story feedback or something for you if you would like that. So no problem. Yes, that was Thunder. Correct. Not that. Yes, that was Thunder. Yes. So I don't know if that's maybe why the internet is being a little funny. So I apologize. It is very close right now. So if you have not voted, please do so, because your vote could make the difference. Ooh, it's close. I'm shoot. Excuse me. It's quite a split. Quite a split decision. I know this is very tough. Very tough. Vote once, vote often. I do not believe it should let you vote more than once. Hopefully not. I believe it checks your IP and it tries to keep you from doing that. Oh, awesome. Yes, the short story critiques are all out there. So if you did purchase one, you should get one. It's hilarious because even as they come in, it's still coming in pretty even. So I keep waiting for somebody to take the lead so I can call it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do a coin flip. Well, maybe we'll have two winners. If we have a tie, we'll have two winners. How about that? I'm going to give it one more minute. It's your last chance. You have not received yours yet. If you haven't, please hit the bubble, because it should all be there. Make sure before you do that, though, that you go and you can check My Services under Author Services and look there. Yeah, last chance for the link there. I'm going to give you one more minute. It's so close. I don't mind having two winners, though. So the winners will have a choice of either taking both of the workshops or getting the mystery course complimentary. I think actually they're all in, because we have 52 votes out of 54 people. So only 2 people have not voted, which is about as good as I could possibly expect. All right. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and call it and say that the 2 winners are Soft Spot, the New Orleans amnesia story, and Karma, the app that grants luck. So congratulations to you two. You are the 2 winners. But second place was very close. It was a three-way tie between the Haunted House Story, Texas Treasure Hunt, and Existence, the Time Travel Story. So it was pretty close all around. So do not feel bad if you like. I mean, all of them, even the ones that didn't get, everybody got votes. So it wasn't like nobody ran away with this. It was quite a split decision. Lots of popularity about this. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Congratulations to those winners. I will be sending you an email so you can let me know if you would prefer either the mystery course or the 2 workshops. And then, of course, we have the winners from the grab bags. We will have another challenge, and surprise, surprise, it will be mystery oriented. And that is going to begin a week from Tuesday. So that'll begin on the 18th. I just want to, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. It's all about learning. Yep. And so if you want to actually kind of like get ahead of the game, because you might as well. I mean, you're our loyal followers. So I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek. It is not going to be specifically plot related. It is going to be character related about trying to determine different possibilities of who the criminal is and misdirection. That is what the challenge is going to get at. So I'm going to give you a little bit of heads up so you have a chance to think it through. But there's going to be more to it than that. But I'm going to give you a heads up, and that allows you to do that. Yes, please share your beats in the community as much as you can. Please share a fair amount. Yes. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this challenge. Like I said, next challenge is going to be more character focused. We'll see you there in 2 weeks. Next Tuesday, though, we will be talking about mystery on the live stream, and we'll get our technical stuff sorted out. So thank you for bearing with us, and you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.